Okay, just go on for some. '79, 10:50 a.m. Harry watched and listened as the sunlight faded to shadow and then darkness, and the wood and steel cage lowered, creaking between the rock walls. Down there, somewhere, was Danny above, was the dirt road through road through road through the trees and the farm truck they had left hidden in the brush near the edge of the wooded circle at the end of it. 1 minute passed, then two, then three. The only the only sounds were the creak of the cage and the distant hum of the electric motor. As the lift descended and they passed the occasional safety lamp mounted in the rock with the coming and going of the light. Harry could see the quiet nuance of Eleanor's body under her habit, the strength of her neck held high above her shoulders, the soft sweep of her cheek punctuated by the angular bridge of her nose, a before unseen sparkle in her eyes. Then suddenly something shifted his attention away from Elena. It was an odor of mossy dampness, pungent and vividly familiar. One he hasn't smiled in years. Instantly he was transported off sent to the afternoon of his 13th birthday. He was wandering alone in the woods after school, woods with the exact same mossy wet smell that surrounded him now. Life had taken them all in a rush. In less than 2 years, he and Danny had lost their sister and father to tragic accidents and seen their mother remarry and move them into a house of chairs with a distant husband and 5 other children. Birthdays, like other things personal became lost in a time of confusion, uncertainty, and readjustments, and thought he tried to not to show it. Mary was a lost and dazzling eldest son, older brother, he was expected to be the leader of the household, but of which household when there were already two older boys in his adopted family, family who seemed to run everything. The whole thing made him reticent, afraid to step in any direction for fear something else would happen and things would become even worse than they were. The result was that he quietly withdrew. With few friends in the school they had been transferred to, he kept more and more to his own company, reading mostly or watching TV when someone else wasn't, or more often just wandering he as he was now. This day was especially difficult. His 13th birthday, the day he was officially a teenager and no longer a child. He knew there would be no celebration at home. He doubted the other even knew it was his birthday. The best he might get in recognition would be a present or two from his mother, given to him with standing there in her room, away from the others, and just before bedtime. It was he understood that she was as lost herself and simply afraid to single out her own children in a much larger household and in front of a husband she beholden to felt beholden to. Still, it made the celebration of his birth seem secretive and forbidden, as if he were hardly worth it, or whole, as if he existed in name only. So the best he would do was wander and the woods and let the day pass, trying not to think about it. That was until he saw the rock away from the trail and half hidden by bush. It caught his attention because something was writing on it. Curious, he climbed over a log and approached it, pushing foliage aside as he went. When he reached it, he saw what was written large, clear, was freshly scratched in chalk, short, in short. Who I am is me. Instinctively, he looked around to see if the person who had written it was nearby. It was nearby and watching, but he saw no one turning back. He studied the words again, and the longer he looked, the more he became convinced they had been put there solely for him. For the rest of the day and into the night, he thought about it. Finally, just before he went to bed, he wrote them down in his school notebook, and when he did, they became his alone. It was his declaration of independence, and in that one single momentous instant, he realized he was free. Who I am is me. Who he was and what he became were in his hands and no one else, and he determined to keep it that way, promising himself never to have to rely on anyone else again. And mostly it had worked. Suddenly bright fluorescence right hit Harry in the face, jolting him from his memory immediately. There was a solid bump as a cage touches the bottom of the shaft and stop, stopped. Looking up and saw Elena staring at him. What is it? You should know your brother is deathly thin. Don't be afraid when you see him. Alright, Harry nodded, then reached forward and pulled the cage door open. He followed her quickly down a series of narrow passageway, passages, passageways lit on either side by ornate bronze scones and marked on the floor by a line of green Athenian marble that showed way above them. The ceiling heights rose and fell without warning, and more than once Harry has to hunch over just to get through. Finally, a course of short, abrupt turns brought them into what looked like a central corridor, long and wide, with benches cut into the ancient stone. The length of it, turning them left, Elena walked another 20 feet and stopped at a closed door, knocking lightly, saying something in Italian. She pushed through. Salvatore and Martha stood up suddenly as they entered, and then Harry saw him halfway across the room, asleep on a bed facing them, and full-strung from a remarkable feat. Gauze bandages covering part of his head and upper body. He was bearded like Harry, and as Elena has worn, faithfully thin than him.